All right, thank you everyone for attending today. We're going to be having a fireside chat with myself, Jason Juliano, Angel, and Carmen. We're going to be talking about the critical role of diversity and inclusion that play within a firm's innovation goals. Okay. So just a little bit about myself. I'm Jason Juliano. I've been a executive for Tier 1 banks, Bank of New York, ING Bank, Bank of America. I've also been a serial entrepreneur. I'm currently a managing director at Aponia Data, which is a AI and automation solution integrator within New York City. In terms of my culture and family, I'm Italian and Puerto Rican, although when I was younger, I used to go every summer to Puerto Rico to be with my grandparents. So yeah, I'm deep rooted into Puerto Rico for many, many years. And I'll pass the baton to you, Carmen, and you can give an introduction, and then we'll pass it to Angel.
Thank you, Jason. I'm so pleased to join and to reconnect with you after so many years. I'm very glad to hear of your news. And so my intro, I am a former assistant professor of management for Rutgers Business School, part of the State University of New Jersey. I'm currently focusing on my consulting business, through which I deliver leadership development training for management levels. I enjoy very much delivering programs on diversity, equity, and inclusion, building high-performing teams, coaching, etc. Prior to doing this, I had a career in corporate, mainly working for insurance companies. And I held roles in client service, in project management, and people management. So very glad to join today's conversation. Looking forward to our discussion. And with that, Angel, I'll pass it on to you.
Awesome. Happy Tuesday, Feliz Martes to everyone here. Angel Montesdeoca here, sending greetings from very cold New York City. It's crazy how it's gotten so cold here. I lead a product and run our AI incubator for IBM. Basically what we do is we invest in internal startups looking to build the next generation of AI businesses. I get the luxury of working with our latest and brightest AI talent to bring products that can help our clients discover insights and trends in their data. In terms of my Latinx heritage, originally born in Ecuador, immigrated here at a young age. And I was smiling as Jason was putting on some Celia Cruz in the background, because when I'm not thinking about AI and tech, which is pretty much most of my day, I'm a very big fan of salsa dancing. So you'll find me on the dance floor. Actually, when I was in Puerto Rico before the pandemic, pretty much every night I was at La Factoria in San Juan, which is a great salsa place. You had to rip me apart to get me to go home, because I would stay there dancing all night long. So that's a little bit about myself. Excited to be part of this conversation.
Nice. And thank you for coming and joining us. So we'll get started. Just a few housekeeping. Everyone's on mute. So if you would like to ask a question, please just put it in the chat. We have Stanley Rodriguez, who's monitoring the chat right now, and he'll let me know if there's a question. But to kick it off, and any one of you could start. But my first question is, when you think about the future, or where would you like to see Hispanics fare in business?
Angel, would you like to?
Yeah, I can go ahead and kick it off. So when I look at the Hispanic population today, we're roughly 60 million strong. It's predicted that in 2050, we're going to nearly double that. Right now, we look at the unemployment rate of Latinos, Hispanics in the United States, it's roughly around 10, 11%, just double the national average. Really think about in terms of our potential, just trying to create that economic opportunity. And that comes through a number of streams. One is ensuring that Latinos that want access to higher education have that opportunity. Once that they have the opportunity to have higher education, that they have the mentoring support needed to excel there, because they're balancing usually a lot of number of things. And once they're able to go ahead and get that degree and increase those graduation rates, give them the opportunity to land jobs that they can go ahead and use that expertise to drive that innovation both within the firm and then also within their communities. So really it's all about, as we continue to grow as a community, making sure we have those opportunities at the educational level, at the economic level, so that we can really take those ideas, that spirit, and make our country better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as I was listening to Angel, I was thinking about my experience teaching for Rutgers Business School, and thinking of the students that I saw going through my classroom. I think definitely there's a lot of hope for the pipeline of professionals that are going through school right now. I do hope and expect that we should see much higher numbers of Hispanic professionals going into careers. Something that, and this is something anecdotal from my own experience, I didn't see that many of my Hispanic students go into technology. So I wonder if there might be something to be done there in making sure that STEM careers continue to be attractive and welcoming to our demographic. For sure, there's I have this sense that our presence as Hispanics is pretty strong in operational jobs. And I think it's also necessary for us to open some more doors in more strategic jobs, more technology jobs. I think that unconsciously, maybe we have arrived at this unconsciously, or maybe there has been some sort of bias to where, ooh, Hispanic, I want you to run my operations. And so opening more of those additional opportunities, I think that it would be a great growth area for our community.
Yeah, I'll give my opinion to that too. Thank you, Carmen.
Mm-hmm.
But I would also like to see, where we bring in more Hispanic leaders into the business areas, that they, as Hispanics, we have a strong sense of family and community. Mm-hmm. And I want to, actually see that integrated within, the line of businesses, and creating a cohesive, teams throughout. In addition, I would also like to see VC firms providing more opportunity to Hispanic entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. And then perhaps, with those investments, allowing these entrepreneurs to, really flourish and create more opportunity zones in Hispanic neighborhoods to help, Hispanics that don't have opportunities now, give them a good jump start. So the second question, and Carmen, you could take this first. What does diversity and inclusion mean to you?
So yeah, thank you for the question. And this is a topic that is resonating for me deeply. I've definitely been deep into diversity, equity, and inclusion conversations in recent months, as I have been delivering programs on these topics. And something I would like to use this quote that I have used in some of the classes I've been delivering, which is, diversity, it's all about inner work. Because see, come to think about it, it's rich opportunities really to work on our personal development, get to know ourselves better, get to be more mindful and aware of our thoughts. How do I see myself? How do I see others? How do I respond to others that on the exterior, they look different from me? And there's such complex dynamics of how we know ourselves consciously and the unconscious things that we're not aware of. As we mentioned when we talk on the topic of unconscious bias, for example, such, so fascinating to think that while we are awake and aware, we may say, this is something that I value, 1, 2, 3. And at the unconscious level, we may actually have biases that go directly against what we just said is something that we value. So to me, it's a very fascinating field that just opens up so much opportunity for us to learn and about ourselves and to connect with others. A manager in one of my classes recently was saying, I use diversity and inclusion as a way of connecting with people, getting to know more about their cultures, getting to learn more, right? When you show interest, curiosity in someone else and in their personal story, that is such a powerful way to connect. So it's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful field.
Thank you, Carmen. Angel, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, diversity and inclusion is something near and dear to my heart. There's this quote by this Mexican writer called Juana Inés de la Cruz. She says, I don't study to know more, but to ignore less. And really, life is the greatest teacher, and we can only have so many experiences. And in the world of technology, as you're creating products and solutions, you really see that at heart. You can look at things from one perspective, but diversity and inclusion allows you to broaden those horizons. And that can come from ethnicity, from gender, a number of different ways. I think the Latino community, in the context as we're celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, we can see it in a number of different ways, right? The languages we speak, the diversity there, the way we go ahead and use certain products, right? Both within the United States, but also within Latin America. The way we go ahead and take those technologies and bring that to our communities. So there's just a number of different ways. And that's why it's so important, because we are such a big population and constituency, to really leverage that diversity, that perspective in how we build products and how we share these solutions to the world, because we're such an important part of it.
Great, thanks, Angel. And that's a great transition into our next question, which is how can DEI training promote innovation for firms? And Angel, you want to take that topic next?
Yeah, so I think the reason why D&I is so important in terms of innovation is exactly kind of what I talked about. We sometimes don't know what we don't know, right? And the way you find value in unexpected places is by broadening your horizons. I just saw Diana, who's also from IBM, post on the chat, diverse teams make better products. I could not agree more with that sentiment. When you go ahead and you understand, again, even as I was mentioning about accessibility, around language, around who are using these types of products, you're going to go ahead and get better results because you're going to have greater empathy. You're going to be able to go ahead and use those experiences to create products that are much better for an increasingly global world, right? I think the other thing that diversity is really important, and we can see it, is that what I'm a big fan about AI and innovation and technology is that it's not perfect, right? It's a process that's going to continue getting better and better and better. And you have to be very resilient, and you have to be willing to go ahead and kind of fail your way to success. And I don't think of any other community other than the Hispanic and Latino who really knows what it means to like go through a lot of challenges, make it better, and continue raising our community better and better. So we kind of see those connections in terms of how do you build products, and that spirit that the Hispanic community brings is well alive, and we would do best to use that as we continue to build products.
Yeah, I want to add to that before Carmen takes it, but I also see with DEI training that it gives opportunity for employees to feel, empowered and express their views, listen to, their team members and fellow employees, including their clients, with an open mind, and really looking at and viewing others, which allows firms to be more innovative, right? It'll, allow them to innovate, more, innovate the firms faster, innovate those teams also. Carmen, you want to take a stab at that too?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that DEI training can help at every step of the way. Think about it. We generate so much self-awareness through DEI training, so much knowledge about how to interact with one another. For example, last week I was teaching a class about communicating in a diverse environment. And part of the conversation was around microaggressions. And as I presented information about it, I could tell that, wow, this was an eye-opener for a lot of people. And so I trust that that information will help have better conversations in the workplace, create more integrated teams, right? Be able to work together better. Be able to develop more results, produce more results that are positive, that move the agenda forward. And so for sure, there's a lot of that DEI training does in terms of helping us understand one another. I see quite a bit of misunderstanding of people in the workplace that I get the sense that many times it has to do with misunderstanding someone's cultural background. Because see, something that's very interesting about cultural backgrounds is that they really touch so many areas of who we are and how we behave. For example, I'll put this out there. The way you manage, it is impacted by your cultural background. There are different rules, different cultural norms from around the world that teach us how to be a people manager. And so you bring your culture with you into the workplace, into how you do your work. Another point that I'll make, and I'll wrap up my answer to this question with this, is so we are in order to bring innovation into the workplace and ultimately onto the market. We need to bring our full selves to work, right? We need to be in an environment where we feel safe, where we feel that, you know what, they're going to listen to my ideas, even if they don't agree, or even if they don't make sense to them immediately. And that is DEI, right? Being on the one hand, feeling that comfort level of I will be able to make this contribution to this team and it will be accepted. And on the other hand, for the space to be there and actually be open to receive and listen.
Right. And also not allowing people to make assumptions, right? Because even in the Hispanic community, there's Hispanic communities like multicultural. Like Dominicans have their different cultures than Puerto Ricans do, and with Colombians we'll have a different, subculture, if you will, than Puerto Ricans. And really, introducing these trainings will, understand to look at things from multiple, views, So,
Absolutely.
I think that, that's definitely a value add for businesses today. All right, so my next question is, as a Hispanic leader, what has been the greatest lesson you've learned over the years? Carmen, you want to take that?
Mhm.
Okay.
I'm having an intuitive reaction to this, and I'm going back to a lunch meeting that I had with a friend, my friend from a Chinese background. And during our conversation, she was sharing with me how she had understood that in order for her to succeed and move up in the workplace, that others needed to trust her. And one of the ways in which she built trust was by talking about her culture, by talking about her background. And I tell you, that was such a light bulb moment for me. It's like, wow. And this is someone that I have a lot of respect for. And my feel was, wow, this is an amazing insight to have. And so as I think about that story and about what she shared with me, I get the sense of the importance of vulnerability, right? Of us feeling comfortable sharing who we are, our story, what we have learned, what we bring to the table as a result, and connecting deeply with people. I sense that many times there's there's quite a bit of hesitation. I'm not sure if I want to share that in the workplace, and a lot of thinking and a lot of choosing. What do I say? What do I share? Mind me, I'm not saying, share it all, right? But I think it's such a great opportunity to really connect with that opportunity to be vulnerable, to open up, share more of yourself and your background with others, and create more trust around you.
Thank you for that, Carmen. Angel?
A personal quote of mine is, every day I walk into the office, I know I have to climb a mountain, but I also know I will reach the top every single time. It goes to show that we know the odds statistically are against us, that it's hard to climb these mountains, but we have to have the confidence given, our heritage, our ability in our own selves, that we're going to reach the top. I think also from this, it's a reminder that reaching the top, like climbing a mountain, is not easy, right? And you probably can't do it alone. You most likely won't do it alone. So how do you do that? The Hispanic, the Latino community, they're very big on this notion of family. But what we're not big on is asking for help. We don't like asking for help. We like bringing everyone together. Then we got to change that, right? Our greatest strength is this sense of community. And it's not just Latinos and Latinos, but it's, our allies. And literally, we want to bring everyone into our family. I think that's how it is. I remember every time I bring my friends over to my family, my mom treats everyone like it's another one of their sons and daughters. So that concept of, okay, family, but we got to be willing to Carmen's point, be vulnerable, and not necessarily be sharing stories. Stories are a great way to do that, but also willing to ask for help. Hey, how do I do this? I don't understand this career path. Can you go ahead and share your experiences of how you tackled this problem? Would you be willing to take a look at my presentation? Would you be willing to help me introduce me to somebody who might be willing to try my product? If we're more vulnerable and willing to ask for help and ask these tough questions, we can get a lot farther. Again, that mountain becomes a lot easier to climb up. And the more and more we can have Hispanic leaders at the top of these mountains, the better we're going to do, because now we know the path, right? So the next time we have to climb it, we don't have to start looking around. We have kind of the blueprint, and we can help others get that path easier. So for me, it's really about, we know things are tough statistically. We know there are some biases we have to go against. A lot of the challenge is not knowing the blueprint, but by asking questions, by being vulnerable, we can go ahead and get to the top. And then the other challenge is sharing that, right? Again, always passing and always giving back.
Yeah.
So two takeaways on that, because I totally agree with you. So asking for help, and I tell my kids are in college now, and my son's actually graduating soon, but I tell them get mentors. And you know, I'm a college professor in economics, and I tell my students the same thing. Always look for mentors to help you, you know, get that extra, you know, head start as you go into the workplace. So yeah, for young people, even, you know, as leaders, right? You know, it's always good to have that support and look for, you know, those mentors that can help you, you know, scale you as an individual and help you develop those, you know, personal skills that you want to get to, right? Because we're not perfect, and, you know, we're always learning. The second thing is family. So personal story, when we hit COVID, I had, you know, my staff, you know, work remotely, and dealing with myself with, you know, COVID. Yeah, I had personally some, you know, family issues, and it allowed me to be much more empathetic, not just with my staff, but with clients, with my family members, where before I was just, you know, always running, you know, trying to get things done. I didn't really sit back to really, you know, understand what everyone was going through. And I think, you know, because of COVID, it allowed us to, you know, be much more empathetic to, you know, or you know, coworkers and our employees. But you know, I if I didn't have, you know, that big strong family connection, I'm not sure if I would have ever got there, because, you know, I was always just driven. So that's one takeaway for me that I personally learned, and hope, you know, I got much better at in the last, you know, 2 years. All right, so the next question, where are we? Okay. Is there a particular investment that you considered a major milestone within the Hispanic community, specifically for diversity and inclusion? Who wants to take that?
I can go ahead and
Okay.
Carmen, you can chime in. So I think there's been a lot of great work over the past couple of years on really building these employee resource groups, these business resource groups for the Latino community, Asian American, African American, et cetera. And this is usually more entry-level employees who want to go and give back. And I think it's done a really good job of creating a culture of inclusivity so that people can feel empowered and go ahead and shape that within a lot of these large corporations. With George Floyd and this new wave of interest in diversity and inclusion, there's been more attention in terms of the statistics really at the top. And so when I look about major milestones in the Hispanic community, I'm really struck by the fact that when we look across Fortune 500 companies, how many CEOs are there? How many board of directors are Hispanic in these Fortune 500 companies? Roughly around 4%. We need to do a lot better, right? Especially as the statistics go ahead and skew more and more towards this Hispanic population. And the reason why I think that's so important is because, again, similar to kind of the blueprint, if we can go ahead and get more Hispanic leaders to get the top job, to be CEOs, to serve as board of directors, they can also go ahead, because they bring that culture and that heritage to the job, they can ensure that culture throughout their enterprise and the way they go ahead and interact with clients. And so as we look in terms of that milestone, I think that that's super, super important, that we can go ahead and get more and more. We can ensure accountability. I think NASDAQ is now requiring that we have a certain amount of board directors if people want to go ahead and IPO. I think that's important. That's going to go ahead and ensure accountability. And we're going to go ahead and start seeing more and more enterprises embrace that culture. So that's something I would love to see.
Go ahead, Carmen.
Yeah, Jason, could I ask you to repeat the question? I want to make sure that I'm answering the right question.
Sure. So is there any particular advancement that you considered a major milestone in the Hispanic community, specifically for diversity and inclusion?
Yeah, thank you. So I'm thinking of two things. In the business world, I'd like to give a shout out at this accelerator in Puerto Rico. I just dropped the link in the chat, and yeah, this accelerator has been going for several years. They started before Hurricane Maria, which came through the island in 2017. So they were already there for that time. And I was, as you asked us to think about examples that are powerful to show the relationship between diversity and innovation, I thought, OMG, I think there's a great one here. And this program, a way in which it brings diversity, the program is open to anybody around the world. And so it receives applications from all over the world. They choose the participants, again, from all over the world. They come to build their companies in San Juan and enjoy the tropical sun at the same time. And the ideas that I have seen come out from there, I actually made sure to give you the link to the startups. You can actually scroll down on that page, and there's a PDF document you can open to read about what these companies have been doing. The innovations are amazing. One of them that caught my eye as I was reading through the list is one that talks about providing solar powered panels, for example, at a lower cost than the bigger competitors in the market. I also have seen many of the companies. For example, there's another company that helps citizens report the problems that they are seeing in their town and communicate with their governments and request help. In another example, and so a lot of very interesting stuff. I've also seen many sustainable business ideas be developed through this program. And so a lot of good stuff there as an example of the connection between diversity and innovation. And then as you were asking about milestone, I also want to mention it's a great time to be a Hispanic right now. And a great milestone that we are seeing right now is the visibility of so many Hispanics in the US government, including the House of Representatives, different cabinet positions. And I want to credit friends that agreed to brainstorm with me for this question. I went asking a few friends and I crowdsourced that answer. And I think, my thought was it could be easy to disregard it because we are seeing it right now. We have not read about it in the history books or anything, right? It's happening right now. But let's realize what's right in front of us. A lot of progress right now.
Yeah, that's great. And then just from my own experience, a lot of my Hispanic colleagues, I see them moving into roles as head of diversity and chief diversity officers, which got me to look at a specific study by Boston Consulting Group, and they did a study with C-level executives on what happens when you bring in chief diversity officers within your firm, and they all reported that there was roughly around a 20% revenue increase in their bottom line, which helped those companies innovate and be a greater competitive edge between other firms. So my last question, and again, if anyone has any specific questions they would like to ask any of the speakers, just put it on chat, and Stanley will nudge us and just let us know there's a question. So my last question is, what hard truths would you like to tell your younger self to make the world a different place, a difference in your life? Carmen?
Mm-hmm. Right. I was wondering, Angel, if you wanted to jump in.
Yeah, this is an interesting question. And Jason, I think I'm going to go with something you said earlier, which is one, the role of mentors. I think is super important, again, to the notion of asking for help. I think the other is sponsors. I don't think that's talked about enough. We hear a lot about mentorship, but really it's about also sponsorship, having someone, being able to go ahead and deliver the credibility so that when these decisions are made in rooms you're not there, you have someone fighting for you, saying, wow, this person does a really good job. We should give this person that opportunity. Sponsors, I think, make a world of difference because they give you the opportunity you didn't know were even on the table. And these decisions and opportunities are always happening there. So I think that that's one thing that I would say, mentors, sponsors, really, really important. I think the other thing that would have made a world of difference is sometimes, I've seen this is, and Carmen talked a little bit about this, is like bringing your authentic self. It's actually a competitive advantage, not disadvantage, to be Hispanic and Latino, because in the business world, we're always trying to find that edge. And if you have that perspective, that unique way of looking at things, that if 9 out of 10 people are the same, have the same experiences, they're all looking at this the same way, and you have a different experience, you can change the whole game. And so I think in previous generations, we were taught, don't really speak Spanish. So we see a lot of Hispanics don't even speak Spanish. Don't bring your culture. Don't do this, don't do that. Kind of the opposite. Embrace that, right? The fact that you can speak Spanish can help you tap into a huge market. The way you can go ahead and bring that sense of family, those stories that can help rally teams together, right? Which is super important as you're competing against, really tough competition. So I would say that. Carmen, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I would say, this may sound a little controversial, but I'd say, you know what? There will be people who will show up on your path and perhaps bring discouragement, and do it anyway, right? Do it anyway. Yeah, that's what I would say. We need to keep moving forward, and at the end of the day, even in the face of difficulty, even in the face of obstacles, even in the face of glass ceilings, we need to keep moving forward.
Yeah, push yourself as much as possible.
Jason, we have a question here in the chat. Adrian made a really good question here.
What's the question?
Yeah, so he presents his case. He's saying that George McBain, his a small company. Can you elaborate more, Adrian, about your question?
He's on mute. Just put it in the chat. Stanley? Because I don't see it.
Yeah, let me.
All right, and then while he's doing that, I just want to add, to what both of you said. In terms of sponsors, yeah, I mean, when I was a director at ING Bank, I did as much as possible to basically create executive sponsors across, and I managed the worldwide team. Just because I wanted to make sure that I had an executive sponsor to be my voice when I'm not there. So I think that's key. So yeah, Angel, yeah, definitely look for mentors, definitely look for sponsors. Sponsors will, again, make sure that you have that voice where either, you're afraid to, reach out to the masses, or you're not there, and you don't have that voice within that specific table, if you will. So that's great. Yeah. So the question is, Hispanic major implementations, ecosystem saving 60%. Where do you find chief diversity officers? Carmen, if you was to basically vet a chief diversity officer, I mean, I would personally look in-house if if I was managing, if I was one of the executives in a mid-market firm or enterprise. But like, what would you do from your perspective? Would you look for someone in-house, and what type of skill set you're looking for, or would you try to basically procure someone outside of the firm?
Yeah, good question. I wonder if you might be able to find someone in your human resource group, if you have one. These are people that are already very interested in the people side of your business, and in helping promote equity. So that's that's an idea that comes to mind. And then there are many groups that could be, if you were to go outside, go looking for this, you could look at groups like Prospanica. You could look at groups like the National Association of Black MBAs, for example, and the different diversity magazines, for example. But I think, even if your company also may have employee resource groups, that could be another source of talent for that. You definitely want someone who is passionate about equity, who has knowledge to guide you. Because see, we've been talking about the positives, right, of diversity to your business. This person can also help you protect your business against lawsuits, for example, for hostile environment or anything like that, which are behaviors that happen when your people are not aligned with diversity practices. So I hope those ideas help.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you, Carmen. Angel, you want to add to that, or?
I think you guys covered it most. I think the only other thing I would say is the key here is, with any key hire, what are the OKRs? What are the key metrics that are important to your business, both internally and externally? If it's about really shaping up the culture and the enterprise is big, an internal hire I think is better. If you're looking to shake things up, an external is better. But again, everything related to what are the key things that matter to you and to the culture you want to build.
No, that's great. Okay. We're a few minutes after. Again, I want to thank Carmen and Angel for being our guest speakers. Okay, there's no more questions. Angel, Carmen, do you want to add a few more words, or you're pretty good?
Carmen, I'll let you go first this time, and then I'll follow.
Yeah. Something that was very interesting for me to find in what I was reading in preparation for this conversation was that research has found that investing in diversity, equity, and inclusion, it definitely comes with a lot of benefits, and the benefits, it has been seen they are greater when you are coming out from a difficult economic time. And the research was referring to the financial crisis of 2008. But it occurred to me, oh, investing in DEI right now that we're coming out from the pandemic, it's a great time according to the research. So I encourage you to go for it. There hasn't been a better time to get involved in this type of work in a very long time. So seize the moment.
Thank you. Angel?
Hard to follow that up. Really powerful stuff. But building on that, we have spent the past 45 minutes talking about how important diversity, equity, and inclusion is. I think there's no doubt that it is. What we haven't talked enough about, but I think it's very obvious, is that this is really, really hard work.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it can't be accomplished through just training. And so I think my parting message is going to be like with anything, you have to continuously monitor it. It's always important to have these top level goals of what it is that you're trying to do, change culture in terms of diversity and inclusion, and who are going to be your champions that are going to help make sure that you guys are on track, because you're not going to be able to do it alone. And it's not a one-time thing. So how do you continuously build? And again, you don't have to tackle everything on. Less is more. But how do you keep tracking this so that it's not just a one-time email or an annual training or even something on a quarterly basis, but how are you making progress every week, every day towards these things? Because if you're 1% better, that adds up. And that's really how you create that change.
Great. Thanks a lot. Again, special thanks to Carmen and Angel, and thank you all for joining us. I hope you got a lot of takeaways from this. Have a great day. Have a great week. Have a great year. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for having us.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.